I'll start with a small intro and then we can, then it will be all yours.
Yeah. So let me. We got a couple of charts here. So which are.
Yeah, yes. Yogesh is saying he made it a point to visit Paradise in Hyderabad to taste the famous biryani. So, yes, I think that's like a pilgrimage, no? Whoever goes to Hyderabad. But now I think Paradise is also trying to reach out to your city. I don't know which city you are in, Yogesh. So hopefully soon you will find Paradise in your city as well. So that's been a huge change, for brands, especially native brands. So a little bit about the background of the masterclass we are doing, Gautam. So it's like we're having a lot of these retailers, mostly 90-95% of the retailers who are members with us are all promoter-driven and family-run businesses who are running native brands in a particular region. And few of them have made the transit like you guys, but many of them are still fully owned by the promoter family and confined to a particular region, right? And especially you are a brand where people travel to Hyderabad to actually taste and savor the biryani. I think many people would want to know how that journey of change and transformation happened, and what is your view as a professional, how you would what you would tell to other promoter driven companies which are going through a similar curve or an experience.
Yeah, so my presentation actually is in two parts. One is the chronological history, really how things have evolved. And then I think the second part of the presentation, I will talk about success factors, which I believe. So I guess that would be a good, I think it will probably do justice to some of these objectives that you have in terms of saying for a traditional brand like Paradise or many other brands, what are the key success factors? So I think I'll probably the 50%, second half of the presentation will be devoted to the key ingredients, as I call it, because we are in foods business, so we have to call ingredients.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we are at 4-2. Tanzila, I'll leave it over to you. Gautam, if you're okay, we can start rolling with Tanzila, and we as and when we'll allow people to log in as well post this.
Yeah, sure.
Tanzila, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Academy 10X, India's leading edutech ecosystem for entrepreneurs and senior executives in retail, SME, and startup sectors. Warm greetings to all of you present. This is Tanzila here, Business Head of Academy 10X. So today in our native brand special edition, we have Paradise Biriyani CEO Gautam Gupta speak on its brand history. What began as a modest cafe in 1953, Paradise has grown into one of the most admired restaurant chains, not just in Hyderabad where it began, but it has also won hearts of guests across the country. And the prestigious Wall Street Journal rated Paradise Biriyani as the best biryani. So let's hear the journey of their award-winning cuisine from the CEO himself. Welcome to the webinar, sir. And I now hand over the session to our curator, Bala Chandra. Over to you, Bala.
Thank you, Tanzila, and a warm welcome, Mr. Gautam Gupta, sir. Thank you for agreeing to be on board. And good evening to all the viewers and attendees. Good evening to the members of Retail Association of India who have logged in. We have partners, Your Story, Blue Koi, Rainmakers, who have all tried to reach out through the ecosystem for this. So thanks to all of you, and happy Ganesh Chaturthi for all the people who are celebrating, Ganpati Bappa today, and for all the Jains who have logged in, Michami Dukadam, and for all the friends from Chennai, happy Madras Day. We are 381 today. So wonderful, guys. So we have a great evening today, and we have one of the most revered food brands from India. And, Tanzila gave a introduction, but since 1953, one single restaurant to all across India, revered and a cult status as far as biryani is concerned, and a city is known by the biryani. So that's the kind of connotation that this brand had to Hyderabad. Limca Book of Records, numerous awards, and the whole transition from being a family-run and a promoter-driven business to now being professionally managed and scaling up. So this is the story for Paradise for you. And we have none other than the CEO who has taken helm at Paradise, Mr. Gautam Gupta, who comes in to share this journey with us today. Gautam has been in the brand, consumer, and private equity space all across his career. He started off with an after finishing his IIM and IIT education, he started off with a stint with Reckitt Benckiser, moved on to leadership roles at IIT. Then, as the CEO of Guardian Life Care, expanded the Guardian brand across the country. And then, about a couple of years back, he joined on board to head this whole transformation that's happening at Paradise. So, pleasure to have you again, Gautam. And the way we are doing this today is we will have a session where Mr. Gautam will take us through the journey of Paradise and also talk about what it's there in it for us in terms of learning. And post that, we have a small 10-15 minute Q&A. We have some questions, so I'd encourage you guys to put up your questions on the chat box, and we will take it up with Mr. Gautam. And with this, without much ado, I'll hand over to Mr. Gautam, and I'd request all the attendees to do a warm round of welcome to Mr. Gautam on the chat box, please. So you can use the chat box, make it very interactive, and let's make this an awesome 1 hour session ahead. Over to you, Gautam, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Bala, and thank you, Tanzila. It's indeed a pleasure being here. And, again, it's a festive occasion today. So my greetings to all. What I will do is I'll start sharing the presentation. So this presentation will take about, I guess, 25 to 30 minutes. Essentially, this presentation is about the Paradise journey. So, Bala, is the screen visible?
Yeah, screen is visible. You're now seeing the presentation.
Okay, so I'll talk about the Paradise journey, and my presentation is probably going to be in 2 parts. One part is the history of Paradise and how it has grown to where we are today. And also a section on what are the key learnings for a brand like us and many such brands, how to succeed, and what are my personal learnings having been with this business for over 4.5 years, to see why Paradise has succeeded and why it continues to thrive and grow. So to start with, I think Paradise is all about biryani. We call ourselves the world favorite biryani. And obviously this has been simply irresistible since 1953. When you see this creative, this hoarding, it tells you how iconic this brand has become. Interestingly, for a large part, maybe about 60 odd years, the brand never needed any advertising. Only, as I will talk about that, only when the brand started moving out of Hyderabad is when we started to do something called marketing. So it was all word of mouth. It was all great, factors, which I will not want to sort of talk about right now, but we'll come to it, which led to the iconic standard. So brand only done marketing. Even though this creative eventually tells you that we have started doing marketing, and I'll talk about it just in a bit. So yes, we are talking about the world's favorite biryani, and one of the other factors, why it's Paradise has become iconic is because celebrities have visited Paradise. So you can see on this chart many of these celebrities. I'm sure you will recognize from people across the cross section of the society. From film actors to sports people to politicians to people from the media. And I think this has been a big factor that as Bala was mentioning, that Paradise is one of the major bucket list items when anybody visits Hyderabad. So I think as the brand has become iconic, I think some of the icons of the society have also visited Paradise over these years. Yeah, so this, this is quite a defining picture, I would say. I mean, it just tells you this leap of about 70 years, where in 1953, this is a small cafe. Obviously, color was not there, so you'll see a black and white picture there. How a very small and humble beginning has come to an iconic stage. So this is essentially on the right-hand side, what you are seeing is the same space, but a building which is at any point in time can have 1,500 people having food across multiple levels. And obviously this is what we call the Paradise Circle. The circle itself was named with Paradise because Paradise has become an iconic brand with that particular space. It started to get identified that in the modern era when the metro came, this started to we call the metro station, Paradise Metro Station. So I think the association of the brand is so strong, and I think this picture will tell us how a very humble beginning has come to be known as the world's favorite biryani, and we'll talk about that. Okay, so let me first spend some time on the history. So Paradise started in 1953 by Mr. G. Hussain. It was a small canteen and cafe. Actually, Paradise was a movie theater where we call the Paradise Circle right now. There was a movie theater. And incidentally, for the first 7 years, as you can see on the slide, Paradise never served biryani. It actually was serving Irani chai, which we also serve right now, coffee and snacks. It was more like a snack bar. People coming to the theater and having, snacks and tidbits and chai and enjoying that. It was only in 1960 when this cafe actually got transformed into a 100-seater restaurant. In those times, 100-seater restaurant was quite big by its standard. Today, it is a 1400-seater restaurant. And this is where the biryani got added. And, I think rest is history, as they say, because this biryani is what we call the hero product for us. And this has given the name and fame to the brand Paradise. Over these years, 1978 is a defining moment as we recognize it. Mr. Ali Hemati, who is our chairman, currently, he took over the reins of the restaurant. And I think his vision is what has taken us to this level of, multiple cities, name which is recognized worldwide. And he's a visionary, and he is somebody who is very passionate about food, passionate about Indian brands, and passionate about the restaurant business. And in the next slide, I will show you how over these years, slowly and slowly, that one location started to grow. So, first time 1983, we had the first air-cooled family restaurant, which was again one of the new things in that particular era. It was the first floor. Till that time, the restaurant was only in the ground floor. Then the concept of takeaway started, where people could actually come, take a packed food and then take it home. Unfortunately, in 1987, the Paradise movie theater closed down. However, the Paradise brand continued, and the brand continued to grow in popularity because of the cuisine and the quality which was focused on. In 1991, more infrastructure expansion was conceived, and essentially multiple levels started to be sort of created in the restaurant. So major restructuring in the 90s, vertical, horizontal expansion, and how this in the 90s, I think the major important part was where this 100-seater restaurant started to get transformed into this 1400-seater restaurant, which we see today. And obviously, I think one of the things which we have been very cognizant of is that as the times are changing, we also change with introduction of modern technology in kitchen and restaurants. Incidentally, only in 2009, which is, let's say, 56 years out from the origin, was the second outlet open. So actually, Paradise was a single outlet for 53 years, more than 80% of its journey now. And this was the Masab Tank takeaway, which was quite popular at that time. It was near to the airport, and since the airport was buzzing, a lot of people wanted to take away biryani. And today, a lot of people say who have traveled to Hyderabad that when when the flights from Hyderabad land in any city in the country, and you open the gate, the aroma of biryani is quite evident. And I think Masab Tank takeaway outlet contributed a lot to that. And this comment which you see at the bottom of the slide is quite interesting, because till 2009, it was one restaurant which started to grow and grew into multiple layers. So our chairman says that the restaurant kept expanding level by level, just like the way a biryani is cooked in many layers. So I think the restaurant itself was doing justice to the favorite cuisine which it produced in terms of being built in layers over so many years. And then cut to today, I think it's been a great journey for the brand. 2015 was again a defining moment for the brand, where outside Hyderabad, so outside Secunderabad, 2009, and outside Hyderabad, 2015, probably about 62 years after the origin of the brand, where the first outlet in Bengaluru opened. And I think people who have visited that outlet, this was in CMH Road, it was for months actually, there was a lot of queue and a lot of people were waiting for it. And pre-COVID, we reached 47 and almost like a half century of branches in 8 cities. So I guess now we are present, except the western part of the country. We are present in the north, we are present in the east, and obviously in the south. I think the city where, Bala, you are, Chennai, we have entered in the year 2016 or 17 from OMR. And I think that again was a very iconic launch for us. Similar situation for months. People were coming from 60, 70 kilometers in Chennai and, visiting the outlet. So we obviously expanded the cuisine. So today we serve biryani, Hyderabadi cuisine, Indian and Chinese across most of our stores. As I will talk about it, I think as the market has evolved, we have also moved from full service restaurant, takeaway, home delivery. And I think that's a great learning there. As you know, probably, I think in food services business, innovation plays a very critical role. So while we have our biryani, which has been iconic for so many years, we also have a delectable range of kebabs, and we do something called Kebab Festival every year. We have Halim during Eid time, and we launched chef special menu, which is innovation on the biryani. So I think this has been, the chronological journey of Paradise, and exciting journey. It continues. In the next section, I will talk about the success of Paradise. My interpretation, having spent, let's say, 4.5 years in the company, what are the key ingredients? What key ingredients? Because we are in the food business. So, I somehow the success factors didn't sound good. Key ingredients sound better. So I'm using the key ingredients as a theme. And I'll talk about 4 themes, which I have learnings for, me, obviously, for the management team, which is working here. At the same time, I think for a lot of partners, retailers, people who aspire to build brands and take them not only in India, but across the world. And I call them 4 key ingredients, essentially passion for product, customer centricity, business model, and culture. So I'll talk a little bit about each one of them and try and explain my perspective on how I see these contributing to the success of Paradise. So coming to the first one is the passion for product. Now, as you know, we are in the Indian traditional cuisine. I think in food services business, if you have to succeed, your product has to be a hero. And I think one of the big success factors for Paradise has been that the passion for quality of product has always been the highest level. I think we put product first to make sure that anything which goes out of Paradise kitchen is of the highest standards. And there are multiple sub-themes in a very traditional recipe, which has been curated over so many years. The supply chain works on very high quality of ingredients, whether it is meat, non-meat, masalas, a whole host of that. Then our process, which is the traditional dum process, which makes sure that this biryani is made with a lot of love, care, and obviously time also goes into that. And fourth aspect is training. I think they put a lot of focus on training our chefs, training our team in service, our kitchen team, to make sure that the greatest of product is served to the customer. Having said that, you would see that everything is about tradition, and we feel that this tradition is very close to our heart. But over a period of time, we have also modernized various things. So modernized equipment, modernized ingredients, modernized processes to make sure that as we move from 2, 3, 4 stores to, let's say, close to 50 stores, we are able to replicate that taste, that success into, Bala.
Gautam, there's a slight issue in the voice. Maybe the internet was weak.
Okay, so let me so is that coming? Yeah, it tends to be a little up and down, but is this clear now?
Yeah, it's better now.
Okay, so I'll continue. So I'll just repeat a little bit. So what I was saying was that while you will see a lot of tradition on this slide, what we have also done is, modernized our various aspects of our food business, be it, ingredients, tradition, process, equipments, the way we train people, bringing in technology to make sure that what was a great success in 1, 2, or 4 stores can be replicated across 50 stores. So I think that is as far as the product is concerned. The second part, I will talk about customer centricity. So you will see the phrase here, and I'm sure a lot of us are aware of this phrase, which we call Atithi Devo Bhava. When translated in English, it says, guest is akin to God. And our mantra essentially is good food, great service, happy times. Customers are coming to Paradise to have a good time, to celebrate some special time, or just spend time with the loved ones with great cuisine. I think over the period of time, one of the biggest success factors for the company has been how we focus on the customer. And when we look at the customer over a period of time, we have also modernized our approach towards that. For example, Paradise Circle is our loyalty program, which has close to 2.5 million customers enrolled, and we are able to give great reward to them. Just a sec. Yeah, so coming from the second part of customer centricity to business model, this is a very slide and very close to my heart. Now, if you see this slide, you will find that how the business model, let's say, in terms of size of restaurants that we operate, has moved from in the last 5 years. And one of the things which has happened in the industry is that home delivery has become very popular. What it has meant is that the outlets which were largely dine-in focused about 4 or 5 years back are becoming more and more compact. So if you see Bangalore, we had like 10,000, 12,000 square feet stores. Today in Calcutta, when we launched the latest store in Chaurangi, it is 1,100 square feet store. It was not only about the size, but also about the mindset to change with changing times. We did a lot of work on the back end, the front end, our menu, and at the end of the day, we have to change with changing times. Customer is ordering more from home. Customers need, you have to orient your processes, your systems in such a way that you are able to service that. And you don't need very high, large size restaurants as you see in Bangalore and Chennai. I think this is something which is a big success story for brands, and for brands who want to, one of the key things which I feel is you have to change with changing times. You have to be nimble. You have to be making sure that while you protect your core and your tradition, you are also nimble and you are also flexible to move forward with the changing times. One more aspect, as I talked about delivery, is about 5 years back, delivery was just about 4 or 5% of business. Today, in many food services companies, it is still touching 50%. In fact, in COVID time, delivery has been one of the big saviors for most of the brands. So we thought that we will launch our own delivery app. So we have been doing delivery for last 5-6 years through partners like Swiggy and Zomato. But we also felt that it is important to have digital capability in the organization to be able to serve customers through your own app. And we, I think the learning from the industry is that own delivery apps, try and attract loyal customers. You are able to be close to the customer. You are able to understand the requirements, and customers spend more on brand apps. So I think the success is there with a lot of other QSR brands also. So this is something which is almost about to be launched in the next few weeks, hopefully starting with Hyderabad. So we are very proud of this. So another example of how technology you have to embrace and move with changing times in terms of business model. The last point, and obviously not the least, I would say, is culture. And if you ask most of the CEOs of consumer businesses what differentiates successful companies from not so successful companies. I think the first word I've heard from hundreds of them is culture. So, you build a culture of great execution, and how you are able to build a culture where you have passion for product, customer centricity, and nimbleness to change your business model and orient your business model. So I'll talk about it, and this is a mnemonic you will see on the right, be good. So we did this exercise a couple of years back where we said, there is something about Paradise which makes it, thrive and grow and do so well. But what is it? So we talked to, we had a sense of what it is, but we were not able to put it in words or codify it. And we took external help of some experts, and they talked to our very, very old customers who have been coming for 40, 50 years. They talked to our promoters, they talked to our employees who have been there. A lot of employees who have worked for the company for 30, 40 years. And then they were able to codify this in what we call be good. It's a nice code, but it has much more meaning to just being from be good. And if you see on the left, it actually, articulates that. So being passionate to serve is one important trait. Equal respect to all. So whether, irrespective of the social status of any customer, we have to make sure that he is given the same respect in our restaurants. Generosity, I think it is reflected in our portion sizes also. I think we believe that, every employee is an owner, and everybody should feel that it is his business, his or her business, as opposed to be just being a job. Openness to learning, I think this is where the nimbleness factor comes. How quickly are we able to learn from our customers, learn from our competitors, learn from the industry, and learn from how things are moving, customer preferences are changing to, be nimble. And most important of all, doing it together, which is teamwork. I think retail, I'm sure, is not a business of silos. In retail, people have to work together. Multiple departments, multiple functions have to come together to create great customer experience. So I think this is something which is very, again, close to our heart, this culture and the codification of it. And we celebrate this. We ensure that customers who, rather the employees who display these values are rewarded. We have a concept of dumb recognition, where instant recognition is given to that, employee when he or she is displaying any of these, values. So, I guess I will conclude by saying that I think my own learning in Paradise and brands like Paradise is that the journey is more important than the destination. And I think what in very brief half an hour I have talked about is the journey. And one of the things which has made Paradise successful is that the promoter family and now the management, we have a very strong faith in our journey. Yes, there will be ups and downs. Today we are talking about COVID. There has been a slowdown in the industry, overall economic slowdown over the last 2-3 years. But I think the faith is very, very critical. And, I am personally also a big believer in destiny, which also is exemplified in this statement, which is there. So I think we are excited about this journey. In many ways, this journey has just begun, because a large part of our journey, we were in Hyderabad, and now we are taking the brand to the country. And we have aspirations for the next 3-4 years to really take the brand to the world, an Indian brand to the world, Indian to the world, which is very popular otherwise also. So, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to share this small presentation. And I will now open up to any questions and discussions. Bala, you have. I'll stop sharing.
So, thank you, Gautam. Thank you for taking us through this journey and beautifully articulating it and putting it across in words. So, what like how the Paradise brand has had a journey, which Gautam has beautifully presented. Gautam has had a wonderful professional journey as well, and a great career. Now hopefully Paradise is going to be a jewel in the crown of a career. We also want you to take you through in the next few minutes about your journey, Gautam. As a professional, you've been through various experiences. You've been on the investor side. Now you're helming a large brand, which is a huge responsibility. So how has your journey been, and what are your thoughts at this moment when we are all facing a challenge in terms of COVID?
Yeah, so I think I'm blessed to have the journey that I have had, and quite excited about continuing this. I've been always passionate about consumer businesses. So when I look at my 2 decades of experience, first decade is largely been with FMCG companies, Reckitt Benckiser, ITC, and then I got into services business. So started with pharma retail, and I think among all these businesses, I found last 5 years I've been with food services businesses, and I found them very exciting because I think the kind of value you create for the customer as well as for an entity is pretty good. I mean, in retail format, food services format is quite a successful format, and if you have a strong brand like Paradise, I think it just adds to that concept. So as far as COVID is concerned, yeah, I think I'm sure this topic has been discussed for like hundreds of times over the last few months. But if you ask me what are the key things as far as success, I think faith, as I mentioned, is very important. Yes, times are difficult. They will be challenging for the next few quarters. As far as I'm concerned, I think probably 2 to 3 quarters, we'll continue to see some challenges. Let's hope for the best and let's have faith in your brand, in your company, and let's keep striving. I think people who last through this difficult period are going to be much better off. In fact, we are seeing that in our organization, that when the business has been low, we have been able to do a lot of projects, a lot of work, which we were not able to do when the business was in regular. So it has given us an opportunity to actually step back, see, streamline systems and processes, think about business in a new light, think about new revenue streams, think about new processes, and so on and so forth. So I think, yes, as they say that the glass is full or, empty. Today, it may be 30-40% full, but, it is better to call it 30-40% full rather than 60% empty, right? Someday it will become 100% full, which is great.
Absolutely, Gautam. So Gautam, another thing that we were talking about before people joined in is also that India, 95% of retail businesses and food businesses are promoter driven, somewhere family engaged or friends together and stuff like that, right? So very few businesses, whether be it in food or fashion or other businesses which are promoter driven, make the cut and jump on to become a professionally run business, right? I mean, for example, in Chennai, Murugappa Group is now completely professionally run. They are a diversified company, but you've done that in the F&B space. So in your learning with Paradise, I think you brought in a transformation in the last 4 years from promoter-driven company to a professional enterprise. So what are the key aspects of a business transformation that every promoter needs to look for his business? Can you talk a bit on that?
Yeah, I think it starts with vision. So you should feel, I think anybody, like in our case, our chairman felt very passionately that the brand had legs and, it had to be taken to the various cities in the country as well as had to be taken to the world, right? And he said that this can be done when you have a professional management and a team, because it's not possible for individuals to do it. You have to create a process, systems. So I think first thing is to have a vision and conviction that you can do it, right? It's not just about professionalizing a company. It is about asking the question, what I am trying to achieve. So, I think that passion, conviction, and vision is very, very critical. The second part of this, and every, let's say, family-owned company or professionally driven company, a family-owned company will eventually transform into a professional-driven company if that choice is made. But usually there is a good transition period, right? And I think a critical factor I have seen in this transition period is trust, and mutual respect is very critical. So, for example, a business owner would have run a business for multiple years or maybe decades in a certain way. But when you get professionals, let's say from outside, and want them to run your business, you have to sit together and understand each other very closely. You have to understand each other more than anything else. Then everything else falls in place, and that builds trust. And it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes multiple quarters. Sometimes it takes years. And investing then time in building that trust and understanding each other is very, very critical, because that makes sure that the the benefit of the legacy is taken forward, and the professional team is applying that to systems and processes. I think that's what my take would be to make these kind of businesses successful and, let's say professionalize them to grow them.
Thanks, Gautam. So, Gautam, you yourself said in the beginning that Paradise grew primarily because of word of mouth, and the word of mouth was so strong that you didn't need any advertising. But now in this 2020 era, with multiple brands and multiple messaging going across, what's your marketing strategy? How do you approach brand building now, especially with the shift that's happened?
Yeah, so I think that's a very valid point, and I think the core. Your delivery has to be very good. The delivery in terms of food. So I think your food speaks for itself. Food and service is your biggest marketing tool, right? So while yes, there is a need now, and I'll talk about it, I think the word of mouth continues to be a very important factor for a services brand, especially food services brand. People talk about great experience to their friends, and then it goes into a good momentum. Second part is, I think, leveraging technology. So today, when we look at, let's say, social media, it has actually made things very, very easy. So I'll give you an example of Calcutta. We launched a couple of stores in Calcutta recently, beginning of the year. And, the only thing we relied on was social media, and invited a few foodies to our restaurant to give their feedback on that. And just because they talked about the brand in positive light, we got a lot of publicity. We didn't have to do major hoardings or, let's say, radio or TV, because obviously we had a couple of outlets only. So once we reach that stage, maybe we will invest. So I think the power of social media, and social media can be a double-edged sword. I'm sure everybody knows. So you have to be constantly, making sure customer experience is good. And if there is an issue or grievance, you have to resolve that with a very open mind and very, very quickly. Because in 24 hours, your brand can go from 10 on 10 to 5 on 10. And the other thing which is very important, especially in retail, and that's my personal belief also, is that you should drive customer loyalty. And one of a good tool to drive customer loyalty is through loyalty program. And as I said, we launched this Paradise Circle, I think 2.5 years back. Today we have 2.5 million customers. And 65-70% of our dining takeaway business is coming from loyalty members. We are able to, give them offers. We are able to sort of make their special, create special moments for them, like, anniversary or birthday. So it just brings the customer close to us. And at the same time, it has given us humongous amount of invaluable data in terms of purchase behavior. What are the changing trends? What are people having? If I am introducing a new product, how is it doing? What the customer is repeating, what the customer is not repeating, so on and so forth. So I think these are the things I would have. But again, I believe in convention. I think if you do great food, great service, marketing will always be icing on the cake. The cake remains great food, great service.
Absolutely. So I think, loyalty program, a good loyalty program, so leveraging social media, and of course, continued word of mouth. If I heard you right, those were the things you're pushing on. And still mass media is very limited. Now, of course, the relevance of mass media has changed, but I think with everybody going digital, what's the, digital community building activities that you are focusing on? How are your budgets pushed on digital? It's just ads, or how do you tell the story through digitally?
Yeah, so see, one is, so obviously, I think influencer marketing has become a very, very important part within digital, right? So as I mentioned about foodie groups and foodies, how they are influencing the mindset about customers for brands. I think that's very critical. So we actively engage with them. We take their feedback. We give them the opportunity to sort of experience our food and service and talk about, give us feedback on that. I think that's a very important aspect of today's brand building. I think the conventional search marketing, when somebody is searching biryani, you have to be on top, so and so forth, are still there. But, if you ask one single point is, this foodie groups and influencer marketing. One more thing which we realized when we experimented that during the COVID time was that customers were, at home and they were cooking, there were not too many options. So we said, how do we engage Paradise with the customer, engage with the customer, our customers. So our chef gave us an idea saying that, look, let me prepare some very simple dishes and, do Facebook Live on that. and so that customers can have some new choice at their home. They can prepare a dish in 5-10 minutes, and it comes from Paradise. It gives them a great feeling that Paradise is, thinking about us as we are having this challenge. So I think that kind of engagement, while there is no monetary value to it, but I think the big factor about, feeling that the brand is taking care of me and thinking about me is also very critical. So these engagement activities will only increase. And I think some of the brands do a great job at it. We have also started, but I think the journey is long and it will continue to sort of evolve as we move.
Absolutely. So there's an interesting question from Sunny Jaiswal. Hi, Sunny. So Sunny stays 1 kilometer away from Paradise Secunderabad. So he's been. What the question that he asks is, Paradise is of course known for the Hyderabadi flavor. Now, as you expand into different parts of India, which is each part of India has their own flavor. Like you mentioned, Kolkata. Kolkata has a sweetish tasting biryani. Then you have a North India, you have Awadhi biryani, and Tamil Nadu, you have Dindigul, Ambur, all kinds of different cuisines available, right? So, do you get tempted to kind of make a localized change in terms of taste to the cities that you go in, or you just standardize it to the Paradise original Hyderabadi taste?
Oh, so this is a fantastic question. I think this was the first question which was asked. Thanks for that. I think this is a great question. So this is a question we asked when we started expanding, saying, are we a biryani player or are we a Hyderabadi biryani player? I think this is a question we wanted to solve for ourselves. And I think the conventional wisdom tells you that you should do what you are great at and replicate that. So we chose that we are going to be Hyderabadi biryani player. And so we continue to have our same cuisine there. However, having said that, I think there are small variations we have done, let's say in terms of portion size. So for example, here we have a certain size, which is, in Hyderabad, which has been served for so many years. But when we went to Bangalore, we realized that people don't have so much of biryani. So we launched the same biryani in a single serve format, right? So, I think these are the variations we do, but yes, we stick to Hyderabadi biryani, our original taste. We do not tinker with that. Sometimes you have to think about accompaniments, a few things here and there. For example, in Calcutta, when we were launching, we were thinking about, shall we add aloo? Because in biryani, in Calcutta, without aloo, there is no biryani, right? And we actually, in the first 10 days, kept an option of aloo, exactly the same taste as is available. And we asked the customer, do you want aloo? This was an option, free of cost. Most of the customers say, we don't need aloo because this is Hyderabadi biryani. I have not come here. I have not come to Paradise to have, Calcutta biryani. I have come to Paradise to have Hyderabadi biryani. And then eventually we sort of removed that. So we wanted to keep that option, but see, customer tells you themselves that please stick to yourself, stick to what you are good at. So I think this has been our learning, and I think this will continue the way as we move forward.
Absolutely. So well said. So coming to the models, Gautam, of course, yes, COVID and the pandemic has changed the way we look at, and you put up a great slide showing how the models are changing and stuff like that. Now, in terms of, there are a few people who are, F&B entrepreneurs as well from here. Where do you see the F&B model going? Will dine-in, still continue to draw in crowds? What's your 2 cents of advice on how do you look at F&B business going forward?
So I think dine-in is not going anywhere. I think customers will come back because food is not only about food, it's about an experience, right? And that experience value will remain. However, I think delivery will be a good contribution. So my advice would be that I think we should, depending on your cuisine and the menu and what you are serving, I think look at space, relook at the store design. Largely on an average, the store sizes are going to go down in terms of size because people are going to be, working on more compact designs. Also orient your workflow, your kitchens to serve delivery properly, because delivery is something which has a different, sometimes has a different process. You have aggregators coming, they need a separate window, so on and so forth. And obviously, if you are not already doing that, packaging is going to play a very important role. So invest in packaging, make sure that the food reaches, if temper proof is the best option, but ensure that the food reaches to the customer, hot and as fresh as possible, right? And, I think the last point is become digitally savvy. I think everybody needs to, in their small way, whether you are owning one restaurant or 100, need to start engaging with customers in a digital manner. So I think if you don't have that capability, let's start developing that capability.
Going digital has been critical. You'd be surprised. We were doing all the training for retailers. Out of the 8,000, 9,000 people we have trained across in the last 4 months in terms of capacity building, over 50% have been only on the subject of going digital. So that's how I think, because we have always, it's a beautifully, Satya Nadella has put it that 2 years of digital transformation has happened in 2 months during COVID. So that's how things have changed. So looking at the model itself, Gautam, my next question is on, your take on cloud kitchen and aggregators. How do you work with, Swiggy and all other aggregators? What's your thoughts on your own? You said you are having your own delivery chain. How do you balance it? How much of delivery is your own? How much of it is Swiggy? And what's your thoughts on that going forward?
Yeah, so I think Swiggy, Zomato, these are great enablers, and they have created a new stream of business for most brands. We have not yet started the own delivery. As I said, it will be coming in a few weeks, hopefully. But I think what I've learned from the industry is it tends to be about, or own delivery can be about 20-25%. So I think that's one metric is there. Cloud kitchen again depends on, so I think building brand only on cloud kitchen, that verdict is still out. If you have a physical format and you can, create visibility through that, and then you can have multiple cloud kitchens around it, that probably will work better. But if you are just going cloud kitchen, I'm not sure is it. I mean, if you ask me, is there a big success story as of now where a brand has been built only on cloud kitchen? Maybe. I think the verdict is still out. So it's a enabling factor, but can it be the core? I'm not sure. But can you expand through cloud kitchens in a hybrid sort of fashion where you have physical stores, but you have reach through cloud kitchen? I think that seems possible.
And and obviously hygiene is going to be a huge role in whether you're doing delivery or dine in and stuff like that. So you're all geared up for that. And anything special that you're doing at Paradise to give that confidence and I would say people to dispel that fear in terms of hygiene.
Yeah, so I think we have invested in food safety. We work with international partners to make sure we do audit kitchens and all that. So I think food safety has been an integral part of our thing. In terms of service, social distancing is new. So that's something which we have done. So for example, recently we launched contactless dining in our Hyderabad restaurants, and we will take it forward. So essentially, the idea is that customer comes in, he does not have with very minimal interaction with anybody. He or she can have food and go back after making a payment. And that gives customer a comfort that, I don't need to be really close to anybody. Just make sure that I'm there, I have my food and go away. So I think that is also, we have got good traction on that. I mean, in some outlets, up to 50% of customers are opting for contactless dining. So I guess that's also good, interesting learning for us.
Sure. So there's a question from Durgesh on the competition. The biryani market in India is exploding, especially with South leading the way in the whole biryani consumption, whether be it in Tamil Nadu or Andhra or Bangalore. I think biryani has been like a most preferred dish. How do you see the whole landscape of biryani business? And, it's got its own nuances where it's very unique from the F&B business, because most of the biryani players have 50-60% business coming only from biryani, and that has its own pluses and minuses. And you have very strong heritage and legacy brands in biryani space itself, right? So vis-a-vis competition coming and them also professionalizing, moving ahead, how do you see this whole market panning out?
So the way I look at it is, I think there is lot of room for organized players to grow. So to give you some stats that I know of, biryani market is about 25,000 crore in the country, annualized, out of which 2,500 crore, which is only 10%, is organized. And most of it, as you mentioned, 90% is unorganized. So I think if you are a organized player, you want to do business in a professional manner, there is enough room for multiple brands to exist, right? So I think my take is that till the time this organized business becomes 40-50% of or 60% of the market, there is enough room for players to grow. I mean, basically, you have to be good at what you are doing, and you have to replicate that on a daily basis. That's the mantra.
Excellent. And what is your advice for entrepreneurs who want to raise private equity for their F&B ventures? What do you think they should look in for? What are the important learnings that they should keep in mind?
Business model and proven success story, at least at a certain scale, certain limited scale, is very critical, right? Private equity will come because they would want to see growth and multiplication of your format. So suppose you have opened 4 stores in a particular city, you should have some track record of why these 4 stores and your business economics is going to become 40 or 400, and why will it succeed. As long as you have a great answer for that, I'm sure there is enough interest in the space, food services space, for investors to come and say, okay, we want to grow this brand and take it to places.
So I think a scale and also a proven track record of success is what is critical.
Yeah, even on a limited way. So it's not that you need to have large scale, but in whatever you have done, if you have a track record of great execution and success, plus if you have a convincing logic of why this business can scale up, basis on business economics, customer sentiment, etc., I think then you have a good chance of attracting, equity.
So there have been instances like in MTR, your counterpart in vegetarian category from Karnataka. They've been into, from the F&B space, they've also entered into the food space and packaged food space. So there are any plans for Paradise to enter into packaged food, masalas and stuff like that in terms of product?
Yeah, so I see everybody is talking about that, right? I mean, every brand is talking about getting into RTE, RTC. So let me just say that, I don't think we are averse to it. But for me, it has to make a solid business case, because the nature of these businesses, product businesses, is very different from services business. It's like running an FMCG company within a restaurant company. It is not easy. The DNA of these companies are very different: brand building, packaging, distribution. So I think, as I said, we have a philosophy of changing with changing times. We are open-minded, but we are also cognizant of the fact that it has to have an attractive proposition, business stream for us to really invest in that, because there will be investment which is needed. You are on mute, Bala.
Yeah. So one of the other, I think, oft-repeated questions that have come about is, so there are many people wanting to take a franchise of Paradise, but your website politely say that you are not open for franchise now. What's your, take on why do you, why you feel a company-owned, company-operated model is better? Why do you don't want to franchise? What's your thoughts on franchise business?
So I would say that I think we believe it's about belief. So we believe that our internal capability to execute well on food, service, and quality of that is pretty good. And we just want to make sure that we do it through our own capabilities. It's as simple as that. I think franchisee business is something which is a proven success model for many brands. In India, the largest QSR brands are franchisee brands. But I think it's about our philosophy and our thought process at this stage. In future, I mean, again, as I said, we are not close to any ideas. Depending on how the business moves and depending on how the market opportunity presents itself, let's say in international markets, I would say we would be open to that. But yeah, it has to be a win-win situation. We personally believe that if somebody is partnering with us, he has to succeed as much as we succeed. So before we even venture out into a franchisee system, we want to create a world-class win-win franchisee system so that nobody is disappointed. None of our partners, potential partners, have to even question. So I think that's our philosophy.
So the next question is on scale. When you scale up, certain things that you bring to the system, standardization, supply chain, and also to an extent the dependency on the chef. Right, so F&B businesses always had a challenge on scaling up. They were good as long as there are 1 or 2 restaurants. scale, it puts everything at toss, right? So what are your probably three big lessons that you would want F&B entrepreneurs to learn from scaling up from the journey of Paradise?
Yeah, so I think again a very important and good question. I think chef is an enabler. It should not chef should never be a limiter in a food business, because chef is the one who brings great ideas on the table, right? So we have to simplify. So I think 2-3 themes. One is simplification. We have to simplify. Most of our Indian cuisines tend to be very complicated in terms of process. So simply put, number of steps you take to reach the final outcome, right? Today, I think there are enough and more ways in which you can actually minimize that and make sure it is simplified. So simplification is very important theme. Second is standardization. So, for example, today a lot of Indian cuisines, work on agri products, locally sourced product. Let's say chili, green chili. Green chili pungency will be varying depending on the city which you are sourcing from, depending on the time of the year you are sourcing from. So you have to find a way to standardize that, because you can't keep on changing recipe by the day depending on the pungency of chili, for example. So I think that standardization is very critical. We have to make sure that you can look at outsourcing some of these things where somebody else is doing a better job in terms of commodity and you are focusing more on your kitchen. But obviously your authentic taste and the fact that your product is tasting exactly the same has to be very, very, that is an important benchmark you should have internally, right? And third theme in this is automation. I think increasingly, a business will scale up if you take out a reasonable part of skill away from it. The more the skill required, the more difficult it is to scale up, because then it's very dependent on individuals. So I think that's a journey which those are choices which we have to make. Again, while you are making all these three choices, you should make sure that the product is definitely as good, if not better, than what you have been serving all these years.
Got it. So I think a couple of more questions. I think so. Where next, Gautam? Next 2, 3, 5-year horizon? I'm sure you mentioned you want to penetrate more in India and probably look at other parts of the world as. What are your goals personally and for the Paradise brand in the next 2, 3, 5 years?
Yeah, so I think next 3 to 4 years, we should definitely want to be in the top 20 cities. Today, we are in 8 cities of the country. We haven't even touched the western part of the country like Bombay, Pune, Nagpur. So I think there is a great opportunity there, and we are geared up. Obviously, COVID is something which has put a little bit of a break on this, but I guess in the next few quarters, we'll start, trying to achieve that dream. And then hopefully in the next, again, 2 to 3 years, we will also hopefully see Paradise going outside the country, going to some countries where there is good Indian diaspora. So I think these are the 2 things which we have in our mind over the next 3 to 4 years.
And, in terms of, we all know there's a private equity involvement. How does one plan for, the next stages of private equity or a exit for the investor? So is there an IPO in mind 3-4 years down the line, or you're looking at strategic? Can you talk us through the thoughts on that, please?
Yeah, so my belief is you don't plan for exits or IPOs. You plan for success of business. And IPO and exits happen on their own, because these are value creation opportunities, right? So I think my personal focus is really to make sure that the business scales to a certain level and it creates a certain, sort of mass, certain revenue level, certain scale, and then, everything falls in place. So I guess we are, our philosophy is to be focusing on what is right for the business. And if it is right for the business, it is right for all stakeholders.
Absolutely. So I think there's one question which I wanted to keep it to the last. So for all the F&B entrepreneurs and for entrepreneurs per se itself, what are the 3 most important skills that you think they should carry going into the next decade?
Okay, so that's an interesting one, right? So I think I would say patience is very critical. I think it has always been critical, but in today's scenario, see, market is going to be very dynamic. Consumer preferences are going to change very fast. You have to be patient, right? I don't think many impatient people succeed. You have to be patient and belief in your brand and, your this thing, and keep on sort of innovating to move forward. Second, I think financial skills are very critical because, my personal belief is that business has to make profit. Today there are so many models where brands have great valuation, but no profit. For me, I think that's not sustainable. For me, a business has to make profit. And if it makes profit, then valuation, IPO, exit, all this is a logical extension of that. So to that extent, I'm a little old school. So I want to see profit on the on the P&L and on the balance sheet. For that, financial skills is important. Understanding, managing cash flows, understanding, managing P&Ls, cost control. I think that is an important aspect. For example, in our business, a lot of chefs start restaurants, right? And this is the right thing to do because they are the connoisseurs of food. But I would advise chefs that they should also invest some time in understanding holistically how a P&L of a restaurant works. What are the various levers of that? Because if you start making profit, then life is easier. If you don't make profit, then I think it's always a challenge. And third, I think it's for one conclusion, I think you have to be understanding technology and digital a little more than what was needed 10 years back. Even as an entrepreneur, you need to understand how customers interact with the brand online, what you need to do. Obviously, you will probably have people or agencies who will do it for you. But I think you need to have that basic understanding about digital and how to reach out to customer digitally.
Absolutely. I think that's become like a language. Earlier, if you didn't know English, you can't be in business. Now you can't. If you don't know digital, you can't no longer run a business. So I think very valid thoughts, Gautam. Just before we leave, I want to also inform the viewers that this particular series with Academy 10X and RAI, we've been having a host of business leaders join us. So we have a masterclass, which is there online for all of you to see, right from Mr. Gautam Gupta of PVR to Mr. Dilip Kapoor of High Design, and a lot of regional leaders have come in. So we will have a quick slide for you, which shows, if you can, where you can subscribe for the, 10X masterclasses. So there are about 15 masterclasses which are already there, and monthly we add about a couple of them. So you can go in and subscribe to this on this as well. And for people who are part of this webinar, the team has put up some, kind of an offer as well. So that's from 10X as far as the other masterclasses are concerned. But meanwhile, Gautam, I think it's been a great pleasure, and I've been my relationship with Paradise has been more as a consumer. I've liked your biryani, and it's very good to know the thought behind the brand and connect with you guys. And I thank you on behalf of not just 10X, but also from Retailers Association of India. We have been a community which started in a small way. Retail itself has been an unorganized sector, and we started off about 13 years back as the official industry body for retail, when 7 or 8 top retailers in India came together. And now we, there are about 8,000 plus members representing about 5 lakh plus stores and retail outlets, including F&B businesses in India. And, we would like Paradise also to be involved with the retail community and inspire all of us and move ahead. And let's be in touch and take this forward as well, Gautam.
Thank you so much. It was great to participate in this. Great. Thanks for the opportunity, and I'm available. I think great to help anybody who wants to take tips on how things are. And also I would like to learn from a lot of other business leaders. So thank you very much and have a great day.
Thank you, Gautam. And thank you for all the viewers. Have a great weekend, and we will continue to have the screen for you guys to, in case you want to take the link, and have a great weekend. And this is Bala signing off for you. Thank you.